A few years ago, my grandfather took me to Air Force Station Pune. He was an Air Force combat veteran at the time. And there was this one particular session where there was an Air Force officer who would come and walk us around the fighter jets. He would explain to us the features of the jet and the role that it played in our Air Force. 10, 11-year-old me was enthralled by this. I was really, really happy. Every plane has these little red tags that you see. They cover the sensitive areas of the aircraft. Much like you would cover your car with a tarp to protect it, they use these tags. You take them off before you fly, and you put them back on when you're done. I needed a souvenir. I was so in love with this whole experience that when everyone was walking ahead towards the next plane, I trailed behind for a little bit, quickly plucked off one of these tags, and shoved it in my pocket. I took it with me without telling anybody, and it's the first time I'm coming clean about this. For those of you who thought this story was true, is my reputation for mischief really that bad? I would never do such a thing, and I do not recommend it either. It's highly illegal. An Air Force career meant that my grandfather was posted around the country a lot, which left my father and uncle to be raised by my grandmother. She managed the house as well as her job as a teacher. After a 2.5-decade-long career in the military, my grandfather decided to make the switch to fly commercial airlines in the 80s. Somewhere in the early 90s, my grandmother met with an unfortunate medical incident. This left her bedridden, completely unable to talk or move for the rest of her life. Despite being affected by the situation, my grandfather displayed an immense example of making the better choice, choosing the better option. He assessed the situation to the best of his capabilities and told himself, what's done is done. There was nothing I could do to change it then. There is nothing I can do to fix it now. I can either allow this one bad situation to influence my every decision and cloud my judgment for the rest of my life, or I can choose to lead by example, take care of my wife, take care of my children, continue flying, and live life to the fullest. And he did. He did live life to the fullest. A lot of us look at famous internet personalities or influencers for role models. We tend to dismiss familiar, relatable examples walking right in front of us. It is mostly because of my grandfather's stories, backed up by a plentiful of my own interest, that I want to pursue my dream of being a fighter pilot. I think for most children at around age 10, if you ask them what they want to do when they grow up, they'll have big, genuine, sincere answers. I want to be a lawyer. I want to be a doctor. I want to be an astronaut. But when the time comes to make decisions based on your career choice, when you have to choose your subjects in college, those dreams may very well change. For me, that dream never once fizzled out. I've known what I've wanted to do since the age of 10. And while I am so grateful that I am so clear and set on what I want to do in life, for me it comes with a slight hitch. I've had a medical condition which could possibly come in the way of my dream. So this condition generally occurs in children, and they outgrow it through puberty or early adulthood. And I too hope that I've outgrown it when I go for my clearance, when I go to the doctor for my next review. I have every reason to grudge life. Why me? Why is my luck so bad? Why do I have to go through such a situation? Are all thoughts that I have had. It is a completely natural reaction to have at first, to feel sorry for yourself, to victimize yourself. Why is life so unfair? So what do you do when the chips are down? Over time, I have realized that even though this first reaction is completely natural, to live with this and allow it to negatively influence every decision you make is a choice made by the person. It's a choice I have to make. In this case, I choose to be positive. I know in my talk I may sound like I am telling you my family history and a life story, but that's not my intention. The larger point I'm trying to put across is that our outlook on life depends upon the choices we make. What are these choices I'm elaborating so heavily on? I'm talking about choosing between a growth mindset versus a fixed or a victim mindset. People with a growth mindset believe that even if they struggle with certain abilities, if they struggle in certain situations, their abilities are not set in stone. With enough practice, determination, and the ability to embrace failures and move on past them, they believe they can overcome anything. People with the opposite mindset, or a victim mindset, a fixed mindset, believe that their abilities are what they are. They determine their final points and end limits there. They're not open to new things, and this victim mindset can lead to you feeling sorry for yourself, even if negative things happen to you that are not of your making. I cite my grandfather again. He chose a growth mindset over a victim mindset. And I intend to do the same, to follow his footsteps and not let my condition determine my success or failure. I determine the attitude I have. And the beauty of life is everybody has that choice, because the choice you make determines the quality of your life. How do you acquire this mindset? A growth mindset is not something you are given or not given. It's not a gift. It's not something you have or you do not have. You have to work towards it. This time I take my father as an example. Allow his example to prove to you that you can acquire a growth mindset from even the most extreme situations. He was also hit hard by what happened to his mother. Later teenage years of his life, early adulthood, where everything was becoming real. He would allow this one negative situation to influence all his other decisions. Long story short, he fell victim to the victim mindset. Into the early years of my life, we both discovered this path of a better choice. Every week for an hour or so, we would consciously sit down and through a long process of reflection and introspection on our past lives, what went wrong, what decisions we made correctly, we would reflect on this. Make that conscious effort to switch from a victim to a growth mindset. And there is no point in assessing your failures and doing what is right after that and not moving on, still letting those failures affect you. The whole idea is to remind yourself that this too shall pass. So, what happens if I do not succeed? While I am hell-bent on pursuing my dream and practicing a growth mindset, it is hard to be 100% positive as well as be aware of reality at the same time. I know for a fact that I will be disappointed if I do not succeed. But allowing this disappointment to cloud my judgment for the rest of my life is a choice that I would have made. I'm doing my best to work towards preparing myself for that. It helps to put yourself in situations where you have to make this correct choice. Finally, I would like to share a perspective of mine that will remain with me for the rest of my life. Quoting Mr. Sonam Wangchuk, life is like a game of snakes and ladders, where the ladders represent your fast track to success and the snakes represent the failures pulling you down. All he said was, watch out for the ladders and do not be afraid of the snakes. A classic example of a growth mindset, where he talks about how failures help you grow as a person, and being spoon-fed success may not always be the best equation for character growth. I also created my own analogy through this. Let's say my career or my life journey starts in Maharashtra as a 16-year-old boy. And for example's sake, we need a point B, right? Let's take Ladakh. I fell in love with the place 2 months ago when I visited. I recommend a visit for sure. Anyways, Ladakh represents me with a successful life. To reach Ladakh, I could either go straight up north. This represents a successful journey, a journey with no further obstacles, the optimal path, the shortest direct route. Sounds great, doesn't it? Or something entirely out of my control could go wrong. Life could drag me south in the opposite direction of Ladakh. Now, either this failure, I could let it deter my mindset and my attitude, or I could embrace this failure. I could learn from it, assess it, and move on. And even if I take these tiny, tiny steps south, people forget that the earth is round. Life opens up a whole new path when you embrace failures. I could travel south around the globe and end up in Ladakh. And I never said that Ladakh represented me as a person with my prior goals fulfilled. Maybe those goals changed for some reason. I said Ladakh represented me with a successful life. And what is a successful life? A life full of positive thinking, learning, and deep meaning. Thank you.